Thanks for joining me, Nathan. Really pleased to have you on the podcast, mate, because I always really enjoy our conversations. I speak to lots of people either at the very beginning of their journey of starting a business or interested in starting a business. And I know that you've recently taken that leap from a senior corporate role into doing your own thing in a completely different industry. So I really wanted to just have a little natter and pick your brains on what that journey's been like. But for people watching, maybe if you could just give us a quick intro about what you do and like your high level journey so far.
Yeah, so you're talking from corporate where I started to now.
Yeah, that would be awesome, mate. Yeah.
Okay, mate. Are you prepared?
Strap myself in.
So I left university probably like most people, and I was kind of thinking, what the hell do I do? I think I was still working as a lifeguard. I just wanted to feel important, mate. And I thought one of the main things that I could do to feel important was to wear a suit. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I just wanted to be the man who's having a pint in All Bar One, wearing a suit and just feeling good about himself. Anyway, long story short, it was a quick way to earn 18 grand a year recruitment. And I really liked the idea of actually finding people jobs. So I thought it was quite an important and nice position to have, but it's quite a hardcore sales role. So I ended up working in Leeds for about, I've worked in Leeds now for about 12, 13 years. I started off as a normal recruitment consultant, and eventually I ended up as a director of a recruitment business. I was always obsessed with kind of status, as silly as that sounds. I thought the bigger your job title got, the more your life improved. And I think sometimes you've got to climb that ladder to realize that that's actually not the case. So people can tell you as much as they want, but when you're looking at that shiny new job title, as I'm sure you know, you're like, I might be happy when I get there. Anyway, for me, I had a few different plans. I always wanted to go to America and build a life in America. And that was always a big plan of mine. From about a couple of years into recruitment, I thought this is a job that can take me there. And eventually in 2022, that is when I got my chance. I was in tech recruitment. I had a big job title, and I could prove that I was of value enough to go over there. And then that's kind of when life took a bit of a turn for me, mate. So you got to remember, I grew up on a council estate. I've lived in hostels, and now all of a sudden I'm in America, and I'm working in the Rockefeller Center. And I thought, this is great. But unfortunately, I discovered 2 months into my journey that my wife had actually had an affair back in England just before I left. So I quickly flew back to England. Now, what I didn't realize at that time is that my values had completely realigned. And I think it takes something like that, a major life shift, for you to realize kind of what's important. So I tried to plug back into the corporate world when I got back to the UK. So I flew home, tried to plug back into the corporate world, couldn't do it. I rocked up, at work, and the whole thing just felt mad to me. The fact that people were spending, so long at the desk doing a job that doesn't actually fulfill them. And I really did try my best, mate, to plug back in. Obviously, I was on a good salary. I'd built my career up to a certain point. But it became so uncomfortable that I finally started looking for an exit. And initially, I started doing it on the side, and I actually thought that I could be a coach on the side. However, I quickly realized that when you start chasing your passion alongside the corporate job, you quickly get sick of the other. So I finally just built up the courage to just go all in. And here I am today.
Wow, mate. Parts of that, yeah, we've had chats before. I wasn't aware of. So yeah, appreciate you being vulnerable, being a leader, and sharing like what that journey was, what was like for you. So, what you mentioned what I think is an interesting and powerful word in there about values. So, what's that journey been like for you of like through your journey of understanding your values, understanding yourself more, and like how did that play into the big life changes and decisions that you've made there?
It's been awesome, mate. It really has. I value there's that whole saying, you can't rely on an external solution to an internal problem. Now, I didn't realize that I had internal problems. I was looking, for chasing status and confusing money with happiness. Until I had a bit of a kind of value realignment. And then I was like, wow, what was that? Why was I so obsessed with just climbing the corporate ladder and climbing the corporate ladder? So when I finally started to pursue what I find meaningful, that for me is when my life really started to change and I started to really settle into who I was as a person. And I genuinely believe now that I couldn't go back into the corporate world if I tried. I've changed too much. Because in the beginning, I actually really wanted to plug back in. Obviously, the money's great. And, being able to just rock up, take a great wage and go home is something that would have made my life a lot easier. But once my values had changed, there was only one thing that I could do, and that was pursue what I really wanted to do.
Mm. How did you start to uncover what your values were and like where your future potentially did lie?
A lot of long walks, I think, mate. A lot of because obviously my life got turned on its head a little bit from a personal and a career perspective. So I've never had to look inside and I've never had to look inwards. I've only really looked outwards at things that I want and stuff that I think will make me happy. So I actually think that discovering your values, I've probably had a few happy accidents where I've been like, I really enjoy that and I'm going to do a little bit more of that. But I also found that it was quite difficult because you've got to be quite honest with yourself. And I found that I had a little bit of an identity issue in terms of I liked being Nathan the who's done this, whereas like starting at zero was really uncomfortable. So I discovered some stuff by accident. I listened to a lot of Alan Watts, read a lot of Stoic philosophy, and just spent some time with myself thinking about what it is that I really want to do. And I heard a great quote by Alan Watts that said, what you really need to do is figure out what you do for free. No, sorry, do what you do for free and then figure out a way to get paid for it. And I've always loved coaching. I've always loved helping people. So that is kind of what I settled on. And I thought there is something here. I just need to figure it out, which I've done. And then I just need to drive hard, which I'm doing.
Love that, mate. Really love that. Yeah, because I don't know what it was like for you, but for me, growing up as like a northern working class guy, it was kind of like these somewhat sound principles of like work hard kind of were drilled into me from an early age, and that then kind of morphed into this sort of like desire for external recognition through climbing that corporate ladder, and can really relate to what you were saying, mate, of like, I'll be happy when the next thing happens. And for me, my experience was there's like short fleeting moments of happiness that quickly then I'm left with, oh, is that it? And then on to the next thing. So how's that been for you now with this change in this transition to like doing something that's more aligned to the path that you really want in life? Has that feeling of like setting goals, achieving them, is that the same? Is it different? How has that been for you?
It's definitely very different in terms of like the work ethic and the amount of hours that I can put in, because I enjoy it. I can really work for a long time without a lot of mental energy. I just enjoy doing it. So that's number one, which is great. You know, I'm not sat in front of the laptop resenting what I'm doing. You know, in fact, sometimes people have to pull me away from the laptop and say, look, you know, you've done too much today. What were the second thing you asked? Sorry, how's it been in terms of just the transition?
Yeah, you're finding that now that you're on a path that feels more aligned with your values, and you know, you're finding that it's still kind of like, if that was your experience as well of these like fleeting moments of happiness when you know, hit a target or hit a goal, is it similar now for you in your coaching business, or do you find that you've got more of like an inner drive or a more fulfillment from the work that you're doing?
Yeah, it's such an interesting one, mate, because I was thinking about this the other day, but I haven't taken too much pleasure in the fact that I'm now my own boss, running my own company and building my own thing, because I've just been so in the weeds doing everything. I haven't even had a chance to think about it. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but I think sometimes people look from the outside in. They say it to me all the time. They go, "You're smashing it. You're doing really well." And I come up for air, and I'm like, "Am I? I've got no idea. I've got no idea." And I'm doing okay, but I think compared to when you come from, much like yourself, when you come from big companies, and you know, quite a good package, etc., the gap can be quite comfortable from where you start to where you want to be. So I don't feel too much in this space, you know, which is one of the things that I'm trying to work on, mate, because I am terrible at celebrating milestones, and I've hit loads and I don't think I've celebrated any of them yet. And it's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I think it's such a great point, mate, because I think for me anyway, it's like starting your own business is just one of the biggest personal growth journeys that you can go on. And it's like personal development on steroids. And along the way, you just learn so much about yourself. That has been my experience anyway. And one of the things that we're probably 6 or 12 months into the first business, and I was lucky to have a couple of really solid co-founders in that business. One of the things that we promised ourselves is that we would celebrate the wins along the way, because we realized that we were doing that we were just heads down. If something went wrong, we were beating ourselves up. But then when things went right, we never took the time to acknowledge ourselves and celebrate the wins. And yeah, there's a lot of research about the reticular activating system in the brain, that if we can feed it things that are going well, it'll search for more of that. And it's almost like compounding returns of those wins. So yeah.
It is, mate. And I think it's just like anything. You need, if you don't set these milestones, some stuff can feel so far away that you'd never feel like you're kind of working towards it. You're always just, yeah, I've definitely been quite bad at that. It's really good for some stuff, but it's quite bad for others. But in terms of just enjoyment, no, yeah, mate, it's on another level. But I have to. I don't think it's a case of, for me anyway, I don't wake up and I don't bounce out of bed and go, I'm so happy. For me, it's more a case of like, what isn't there? The stress of that isn't there. You know, the stresses that are now in my life are the ones that I bring into my life and I create, which they're totally different to the external ones, where they are not your problems, but you've got to deal with it anyway.
So for the people maybe thinking about starting a business, because I think there is almost this like grass is always greener mentality, where it's like sometimes starting your own business is seen this like panacea to instant freedom, and then all of a sudden you're your own boss. But there is another side to that. What's that leap been like for you, of all of a sudden, right now the buck stops with me for absolutely every single hat and job in this business? What's that been like for you?
So I remember distinctly the feeling of when it first happened. My son was laying next to me and I didn't have another role to go to, and I handed in my notice. And I remember overwhelming guilt. I remember feeling overwhelming guilt that I've just potentially put his stability at risk to pursue something that I want. I felt like a bad dad, to be honest. That quickly morphed into excitement, and I think that you can do some amazing things when your back is against the wall. There's so many quotes on it. There's so many, people saying, just go for it, you'll make it happen. I genuinely believe it's true. So when I left my corporate role, I earned quite a bit of money. I remember the first bit of money I received, it was £600, right? And I just remember looking at it thinking it was like Monopoly money. I thought, what am I going to do? Like, what am I actually going to do? But you do work it out. If you want it bad enough, you will just work it out when you set your mind to the task. So you've got to trust yourself. You've got to trust yourself. I'd say it's probably got to be really what you want to do, because if it isn't, it's that whole thing, isn't it? Like, be careful what you wish for. I can't imagine doing this much work if it's something that I didn't want to do. You'll figure it out. You'll just figure it out. That's the only thing that I can say, mate. You will just figure it out. I've taken a lot of risks recently. The allure of the corporate world is so strong, mate, because you know that you can just get like a decent salary like that, but that is going to be you for a long, long time. And there's just going to be a period where if you work bloody hard, you'll get everything that you ever wanted, but you've got to go through the shit a little bit. So I would say it's been everything that I've ever wanted in terms of everything that I ever thought it would be. It is. There's not one part of me that thought it was going to be easy, and it's still not easy. And I imagine that it's not going to be easy for a few years, mate. But because I'm mentally prepared for it, it's different. When it's your own thing and it's your baby, it is very different to going in and dealing with, maybe Janet from HR because you've done something that you weren't supposed to do. That's very different.
So tell us a bit more about your coaching. Who are you working with? What are you helping them with?
So again, just another little part of the journey, mate. When my life got tipped on its head and I moved out of corporate, I really dug myself out of a dark place with fitness. Now, I've always been into fitness. I've always competed like in multiple sports, but I've never really faced a lot of adversity like that in my life, that much anyway. So I dug in and dug myself out of a very bad hole. And it was at that point that I realized how powerful it was. And it's not just a case of fitness is some sort of leisurely activity that, maybe you just do on a weekend or when you're feeling good. I just realized how powerful it was. So I thought, if I can pick this up, move it over to people who perhaps need it. My experience is all in the corporate world, in leadership roles. I thought if I can really help coach leaders to be better leaders, better people, better fathers, better friends, better mothers, I've got a lot of value to add in that area. So it's coaching, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, but it's aimed at leaders and entrepreneurs. I can relate to those people a lot, mate, and I know a lot of the pressures that they're under. I know a lot of struggles that they go through. I know a lot of the vices that they've got and a lot of the limitations that they've got to their training. And that's who I aim it at, because those are the people that I feel like I can help the most. Because a lot of them are in a very sticky spot. And I think that through fitness and really taking care of yourself, I just think it improves that many areas of your life that it shouldn't be taken as a paracetamol when you've, got yourself in a bad spot. It should be a multivitamin that you kind of take every day.
Love that. I think that's such a powerful and inspiring story there, mate, of how you've tackled adversity head on, and like, you know, discovered this powerful tool, and now you're sharing this with others. What advice, or what maybe like tips, or what for someone who's maybe like spinning all the plates in a business or a busy leadership role, and is maybe like feeling like they want to take some action and get their health in a better spot, but maybe feels like they've got too much on their plate? I guess that must be a common challenge that you come across with your clients. What would you say to those people?
I think it's all about finding purpose in the work, mate. So it's not just about, if you give me two people, one who wants to be the best individual that they can so they can share that person with the friends, the family, compared to someone who wants to lose 10 pounds because they're going Zanti in a couple of months, those people are going to get very different results, because one's long lasting and one's short term. So I would say, if it is that you're struggling for time, if I would just say you need to shift your priorities, and the way to do that is to just find purpose in the meaning in the work. You can shift stuff around all you want and try and squeeze the odd gym session in. If it's not important for you, it's got a lifespan on it. You need to really be thinking, I am gonna show up here so that I can show up in every other area of my life and be the best possible version of myself. And if you're not thinking like that, your results are going to be nowhere near the person that is.
Yeah, so powerful, mate. And yeah, from the work I see with clients I work with, or through Unbound, or my coaching clients, it can often feel like it's this thing that's taken away from the work and a detraction away from other stuff, when actually, like, if you get your physical health and your mental health in check, then it's just giving you more in the tank for everything in life, including the business. Yeah, for sure.
100%.
You mentioned a couple of things there that have been powerful for you, of fitness. Sounds like Stoicism's played a big part in the journey in terms of mental health. Tell us a bit more about that, and how that maybe for people that aren't aware of Stoic philosophy, sort of like a bit about that, and like how you found that so helpful.
So I'd heard of the word stoic, but the word stoic to me was someone who just shows no emotions and are totally, like, you know, everything just washes over them. They're not bothered. And when my family broke up, and when I came back from America to England, I was just looking for answers, to be honest, mate. And your emotions are so dependent on other things outside of yourself that I just wanted to bring everything back inside. And I think I must have just been on YouTube or Instagram, mate. And you see these quotes every now and again, you're like, oh, that's brilliant. That speaks to me. That speaks to me. I think I'd seen a few of them, and I was like, there's something in this Stoicism thing. So I used to put headphones on, and I used to go on a 5K walk, and I'd just listen to Marcus Aurelius meditations. And when you listen to like the wisdom coming, through the headphones, and you realize that this is the most powerful man in the world, the biggest empire the world's ever known, and he's talking about is like being kind to your fellow man, and it's not about changing the place, it's about changing the person. He's somebody worth listening to. So I quickly then realized that basically Stoicism is just all about controlling your reaction to situations. And whether you're going through a really shit time, or whether you're maybe in a leadership role and you've got conflict left, right, and center, I thought it's a very useful tool to have. And then what I quickly learned is, like, the Stoics are not, they're not just steel people that they don't feel anything. They feel everything, but they recover. They feel it, recover it, and then respond to it. And that's just kind of the type of person that I wanted to be like, mate. Somebody who was, I could feel things, process things, but the stuff that happens to you wasn't in control of me. And then it became a little bit of a lifestyle, mate. And now, I read many of the Stoic philosophers, and I'm so fascinated in it. And I would say to anybody that if you just want a bit of a framework on how to live your life, Stoicism is not a bad place to start.
It's incredible that Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, it's incredible. It was like written all that time ago, and it's just still so relevant today, all these years later.
Do you know what it is as well, mate? I think sometimes people, how can I put this? I've lost it. Carry on. Sorry.
Love it. Have you picked up any other tools, habits, techniques that you've found useful along the way? Because that for me is like that mindset of, kind of feeling into things, but quickly taking responsibility of like, what am I choosing to do next? Powerful for any leader, but especially for business owners who were having shit thrown at them, probably left, right, and center, and having to, just not wallow in self-pity and then crack on and move forward and keep the momentum going.
I have, mate, one of the there's a few, like there's one outside of fitness and I think this is seriously important, is to I've learned to sit with some of my problems. So before, and this is the truth, if I had an issue, I would go on a 5K run, and I'd every issue that I had, I'd some personal issues, whatever it was, I'd go on a 5K run, I'd come back, the endorphins would be flowing, I'd feel better. And I remember a therapist saying to me once, she said, "Nathan, you're literally running away from your problems." And I was like, you're right. So sometimes sitting with some issues, feeling it before you do something about it is super important. That's number one. And secondly, mate, fitness. I can't tell you how much that has helped my life. And I have a little bit of a rule: if I've got an issue, I train, and it's still a problem when I've finished training, the likelihood is it's a legit problem. You will just elevate yourself to be a much better version of yourself. Sometimes if you've had a hard day at work in corporate land, it's rough. You don't want to talk to anyone. Even your own family can suffer, mate. You can be a poor partner. You're not paying the attention to your kids that you need to. You finish at the gym, you're holding doors open for people, bringing your missus flowers. You're just a better version of yourself. And I think that unless, like I said to you before, you're building it into and it's a multivitamin, not a paracetamol, you're never going to see those benefits. I can tell by my interactions with people whether I've trained or not. And if it gets to a point where I'm feeling a bit impatient, or there's certain things that I'm not as involved in the conversation, I know I need to go train.
Yeah, it's almost like a powerful meditation, isn't it? To go and clear the head. Love to hear a bit more about your experience of therapy. How was that for you?
It was rough, mate. I remember the first time, because you said a little bit about it before. Counsellor state lad, something like that. Like people don't get therapy. It wasn't a thing. It's kind of now it's like a thing. And I remember I remember waiting for the therapist to answer the phone, and I was really upset because I thought, how have I got to a point where I need therapy? And that to me was the most upsetting part of it. As I got into it and I started talking to this woman, I mean, I've had a couple. As I started talking to this woman, I was amazed how much lighter I felt by just talking to somebody. And you can obviously talk to, even if you've got a great friend that you can say anything to, the journey that a therapist can take you on of unloading your thoughts and asking you questions that perhaps you hadn't even thought about is so powerful, mate. And I think if I was a leader in the corporate world now, I'd probably have therapy just regularly as just part of my routine. And it's something that I'll definitely consider for future, mate, because it's extremely powerful stuff.
Yeah. I think great questions in whatever form they come in, whether it's through a therapist, a coach, a mentor, a good friend, a journal, asking yourself, like, good questions are so powerful, aren't they?
They are, mate. And journaling something again that yeah, if you're feeling heavy and you need a conversation with somebody, but you might not want a conversation with someone because you haven't got the energy, you don't want to share what it is you're talking about. I get the exact same feeling from journaling that I would having a conversation. So again, powerful stuff. I just need to get on this breathwork stuff because that's the missing piece for me.
Yeah.
I've completed it then.
all the things. Yeah, mate. Well, let's talk about that some other time, because it is another powerful tool that can give you a different perspective from within as well, where, yeah, there's something powerful about checking out of autopilot in the conscious mind and consciously asking ourselves different questions. There's also something very, very powerful about getting deep into the subconscious and asking the gut what's going on and where we want to take things. So yeah,
I think I struggle with that layer that you've just spoke about. I think there's if I'm an onion, I'm probably like layer 2 at the minute, but I know I can go deeper, but I'd have to do a lot more work to get there, mate, but I'd love to. There's some magic in there.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job at peeling those layers back of all that conditioning and seeing what really is beneath there. I don't know, from my experience, that's like where true happiness and fulfillment comes to, like figuring out along the way of like, what do I really want? What do I really enjoy in life? And not what I've just sort of like told myself from
100%. And you said something really powerful earlier. I was like, do you know, you were talking about council estate kids and stuff like that, conditioned to just be somebody in the world straight away. And I've always been a little bit, obviously observe other leaders and stuff like that. And there's some people who aren't as capable, who put in less effort, and they have an instilled belief that they are supposed to be there, they're meant to be there, and they're so confident. Whereas someone like me, you know, imposter syndrome, it's a part of my life, and I could probably do more work in managing it, but you've really got to outwork it. And yeah, it's interesting, mate, that whole validation piece.
I think you hit the nail on the head there with a word of work. And that's what it is for me. I think it's like choosing to do work to reprogram these neural circuits, these mindsets, these subconscious thoughts and beliefs. And it just takes a bit of work and a bit of practice and some reps. And with the right tools, you can do it. You know me, I'm a big fan of breath work. The thing I love about it is it's not like I need to go lock myself away in a cave for 10 years and find enlightenment. I'll go do a session, I'll do some reps, and then I'm going to know that I'm going to change my state and access that subconscious. But you mentioned about, about people who've got this like inherent belief. Like one of my favorite quotes is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And yeah, I think that for me just really sits with me. You strike me as a quotes man. What's one of your favorite quotes?
Wow. God, you've got I think it was Seneca. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favourable. Directing your mind to whatever it is that you're going is it has to be the first thing that you do, because otherwise you are just pulled everywhere.
Love that. Put you right on the spot there, by the way, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, mate. You did. I am a walking quote book, but it's hard when to know and not to do it. To know and not to do is not to know.
Love it.
So I am not a big fan of pretenders, mate. I like, you have to, if you're spitting that, if that's coming out of your mouth and you're kind of owning it a little bit, you've got to embody it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm really big on, which causes a lot of problems because you can't be good at everything, can you? But if I'm teaching something, I like to try and be the best at it, which is impossible because I like a lot of things and I coach a lot of things. So,
where's the port set to next for you and for Virssius? What's on the horizon? Have you got any exciting plans?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is, mate, I'm still I've got some amazing results with the clients that I'm working with. It's to just get more people on board. It's super competitive, the coaching world, but there's also a big gap in the market because most coaches, they're not. You'll have had business coaching, real coaching, mate. It's a feeling. If you're coached properly, you want to work hard for that person. And in my space, you've basically got personal trainers dishing out plans and stuff like that, and that's not coaching. That's a personal trainer giving you a plan. So my goal is to just build a product that services one individual extremely well, so that I can replicate it and get as many people on board as possible. I've got the blueprint. I'm just repping it out. So I'd love, I guess my next goal is to just I'd like about 50 clients on board, and then start growing it, mate. Bring some other people on board. Here's the recipe. This is what we're going to do, and see where we can get to.
Love it, mate. Love it. Well, I think the fact that you really understand your ideal client, all the challenges that they're going through, and you've got this blueprint that you can help them to implement and create life-changing results. I'm sure, like you've had yourself, mate. That's powerful. What if anyone's watching this and they want to get in touch with you? What's the best way to do that?
Can do it on my socials. So it's Nathan Quinn on LinkedIn, Virssius on Instagram. I'm gonna send you my email. Send you my email address.
We'll put it in the
right in the bio.
In the show notes, as they say.
Yeah. It's mainly through socials, mate. Even my best friends and family. Like a lot of them, I probably don't know my phone number. It's just they'll drop me a note on Instagram or whatever it is. Feels quite childish though, doesn't it? Oh, just here's my Instagram. Drop me a note through there.
Slide into DMs.
Slide into my DMs. Yeah, there's probably. So it's probably socials that. So LinkedIn or Instagram are the main ones that I use.
Quality, mate. Good stuff. Well, I've really enjoyed the chat, mate, as always. Looking forward to hearing about where you take things next, and looking forward to continuing to see all your clients smashing it as well, mate. I love seeing that on your socials.
Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot more of me, mate. I've got a big content strategy, so I'll be in your grill.
Quality. All right, mate. Good chatting
to you.
All right,
love it. Thank you, mate.
Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.